Hello, welcome back. It's been a little bit. Got a lot more free time now. And seems like some people like the other exploration of Defold. I did kind of want to give it one more chance. And it looks like this second tutorial project is goes into more detail about what I wanted to know about game objects, components, and collections. So it's going to download that, set up the files. Oh, took books away. Loading project. Okay, cool. I don't know what coerce is. Gamepads, render, material. Loading, loading, loading. Should be loaded up here. There it is. 16 kilobyte readme. This beginner's tutorial, you will learn how to capture player input and make a character move and animate. Along the way, you will get an introduction to core building blocks and Defold, game objects, components, and collections. This tutorial project comes preset with all assets that you need. Start by running the game to get a feel for what's in here. Okay. Projects. Build. / main collection. Main.collection. Building, building, building. Oh, I was about to say, I wonder if I should pause it until it loads. Okay, arrow keys? No. WASD? No. Mouse? Nothing yet. Well, it did say I'm going to learn to, get an introduction to, learn how to capture player input. Okay, so, that's good. Main.collection. Why did I give a warning? However, engine.init took 11 seconds. Astronaut, level. Okay, go back to README. We see in the editor's collection file. The default engine starts, it loads a bootstrap collection as specified in the game.project settings file. I see. That's Is it not loading, or I can't right click and do anything with this? Oh, it's freezing up. That's awesome. Oh, this file. Yeah, I looked at one of these before. I didn't say unnamed. It said walking astronaut a moment ago. Bootstrap. Main collection. Yeah, alright, cool. Particular files and projects bootstrap collection, which is why you see the content of it when you run the game. This collection contains 2 game objects, and these 2 game objects each contain components. So this is the component object model I've heard so much about. Collection files. I don't need to read all this out loud, right? Right. I don't know. If people like it, I'll read it out loud. I don't care. Collections can contain sub-collections. That's good to know. Okay, collections are variable in the size of what kind of thing you build with them. Game objects are smaller. Position, rotation, and scale. Typical objects: bullet, pickup object, or a level loader. Parts of the things that are drawn on the screen make sounds or make interactions happen. Components do not exist on their own, but are placed inside game objects. Okay, that kind of explains why scripts are tied to like the player character or bullet object rather than the other way around. But I would still say, I mean, part of this is me speaking as a programmer by avocation, but I would kind of say the script takes precedence. Certainly, if you're thinking in a visual way, then yes, the script is attached to the visible objects. I don't know. This, incidentally, is why I'm using this and not something that's strange sounds are happening. This is why I'm using this and not something that is more into visual scripting, because I don't understand visual scripting. All those lines, I can't follow that. I don't want to follow that. I like code. Alright, components and properties. Component types can come from different source files, yada yada. Outline pane, got it. Astronaut game object which has ID astronaut. Yeah, ID astronaut. Game object has been added to the main collection from a blueprint game object name /main/astronaut.go. Should I say .go or .go? Because it stands for game object. I'll say go. Even though it makes me think of the Go programming language, which I don't actually know. I'm just kind of passingly familiar with. Alright, so yeah, astronaut.gl. Set it again. Background level game object has ID level. It has tile map component. Okay, let's do that. Level, expand that, level.tile map, which is right there. Okay. So no difference between game objects embedded directly in the collection and ones that are based on blueprint files. Game object exists in only one instance. There is no real advantage to using a blueprint file, but if you want to create many copies of the same object, blueprint files are extremely convenient since they allow you to change all instances at once. In the outline pane, the name of the file an object component is created from is created in italics next to the object ID. I see, that's what that signifies. So back over here, there's a level object, but there's no level.script or level.much of anything. It's created from level.tilemap. Level.tilemap instantiates a level. It creates a copy, one of a level. It's like a chicken. Chicken can create many eggs. All the eggs come from some chicken. Oh, and it has layers, like an ogre. The astronaut game object, okay. Script component, sprite component, yeah. Click it, expand it, sprite. Wait. No, click it, properties. What am I looking for? ID, position, and rotation. They're all relative to the object that harbors the component. That's a nice way of putting it. Properties that dictate what image or animation the sprite should display. Image sounds pretty self-explanatory. Image resources are atlas or tile source files. Okay. So you can't just have like a PNG. Atlas files are collections of separate images that have been baked into a larger image for efficiency. Okay. Here are the properties such as file name astronaut.atlas. Those look all the same. Oh well. Let's close this too. Default animation. Okay, so they did want me to click the sprite property, sprite component. Click the sprite component. Okay. Yeah. The terminology was getting me. Okay, so they're looking at sprite, which has position, rotation, image, astronaut.atlas. Animation idle, material, which is sprite.material. Blend mode alpha, that's a, yeah. Property, yeah, default, set to idle. Run the game again. Notice says losing through. Okay. I didn't notice that it was doing an idle animation. Oh yeah, bouncing up and down. Just this, the top half of the body sort of bouncing. I mean, that's one way to do an idle animation, I guess. I'm not much of an artist. I shouldn't critique too hard. I can draw like half of a fan, like a box fan. I did that the other day. Like 2.5 blades, like 2 or 3 blades out of 5 look good. The other two were the outline looked okay. The square outline, whatever. Astronaut Atlas. Yes, I did this. I guess because they're shrunk down, they look so similar. I really wish it would give tooltips to show what these buttons do, because I don't remember. I would need to use this on a constant basis. Okay, so that's rotation. That's move? Select. I guess this is move? No. I don't know what these different modes do. Whatever. Outline view shows all the images, how animations are organized. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I would have expected them to go left to right first. Okay, scroll wheel is how I shrink and grow the view. That's, I mean, some drawing programs do that. Fine. Select idle play. Select it from where? View play from the. Oh. Okay. Yeah, up to now it hasn't really used the menu bar at all, basically. Oh, it's showing the different frames as they happen. That's cool. Alright, stop. Select view, frame selection, zoom. The zoom, gather camera. Discover cams. Start adding walk animations. Right click the root. Yeah, let's outline. Select add animation group. Okay, so I gotta go through the atlas, what I would call a sprite map or a sprite. No, I guess, yeah, tile map. That's kind of what, I don't know. Alright, I click what now? Right click the root of the atlas in the outline. Add animation group. Alright, now what? Now, I didn't need it to tell me where in the menu add animation group was at. I kind of appreciate it. I've had those moments where I was following a tutorial and I was just staring for a solid couple minutes. I'm like, it's not there, it's not there. The image is like, oh, here it is. Not a visual person, again. Click the new animation, give it the ID left. Okay. Or click the animation, select add images. Alright, I'm gonna need to read this before I do that. Left from okay. Left ones. Can I do control click? I can. Bingo. Alright, cool. They gave me the same structure as that. Huh, that's a 6-frame animation. That one's a 5-frame. Ah. What the? How do I? I want to move the view. Is it right click? Is it middle click moves the view? Would have been nice if something told me that. There. I don't know. I feel like that might be another like drawing program, art program thing, Photoshop sort of thing. But I've used Photoshop back in high school, back before it was all subscription. I don't remember pretty much anything about it except for somehow layer blending works, and that layers are good, and you should use them and arrange them. Alright, if you play. Alright, so that animation is just that's set now. Of course, I would need. If I was making this, I would need to set up all the frames individually, blah blah blah. But I've done that before. The art part is hard for me, but arranging them is just Slightly tedious is not a big deal. Whoa. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I saw it. It said change it from 16 to 50. Or 15. Yeah, that's reasonable. I'm not super fond of 15 FPS, but not like an FPS. I don't even know what adjective to use, what noun to use. FPS person. Repeat for right, front, and back. Okay. Stop. I'm going to change the FPS right away. Alright, it didn't take effect because I didn't. Oh, it did. Just took a second. Which is right. Whoa. I don't like that I can't click and drag, but at least I can control click to select multiple. Not super fond of that little pause, but it could be like a minute or two, so whatever. And we got right, front, and back. Let's collapse these. Alright. Alright, and back. Oh, there's an update available. Yeah, I'm not going to do that on a camera. This took a while to install and a while to to open, to start up. That's why I did it before I started recording this time. Astronaut script component. Remember that? Okay. It's like it's telling you to remember, but then it asks, it has question marks, so it's like, remember? I don't know, wording. I am a little bit more of a writer than an artist. I will say that. So I'll pick at their writing, but whatever. This isn't about writing. This is game making. Yes, astronaut.script. Okay. I like that it's spaced out. There's spaces between each function. Well, I mean that's normal, but they all have self. Reload handling, update code, on message. All right, good. This tells you what each function does. All right, cool. 1 second. These are the lifetime functions of the astronaut. Okay. Are there going to be any Lifetime original movies that will be lost to time now that I think about it? Function called when the component. This is initialized before anything appears on screen. Okay. It's called when the component is being removed when the object is deleted or right before the game engine shuts down your game. Okay, that makes sense. Constructor, destructor, except more complicated and nuanced than that. Update, called once each frame. Right. This function is called each time a message is sent to the script component. Message passing is an essential feature of Defold, but we are not doing any in this tutorial. Dang. On the input. This function is called each time an input action is sent to the script component. Okay, so that's different from messages. I would think that if you have this message system, it would make sense to send input the same way. Or to check for input during update, but they have it as a separate thing. I don't know, maybe it has to do with underlying optimizations in the engine, maybe it's just to make things more clear. I mean, it enforces a little bit of structured programming to make sure that the stuff that directly responds to input is separated from, well, it encourages you to separate the stuff that directly responds to input from the stuff that is more detached, like on input, set this flag, or set this variable to something. And then all the stuff you do as a result of that is elsewhere, like in my Crush Chaos here. I can load it up. Inbox. Instant press. Yeah, this just checks if each of the controls is pressed. If it's pressed, it sets flag indicating it's pressed. There's a lot of code to it because it's actually setting timers so that it can tell how long ago it was pressed, and if something else was pressed more recently, that can take precedence. Yeah. But all that really does, a lot of that is not even that code, that function. All this does is set these values to something other than 0 if something was pressed. You can see that at the end, it sends that back out. It loops over this, and well, I guess it doesn't send it anywhere, but it stores it in a globally accessible table. And then in the actual main game code, I'm running instant press once per update. And then the based on things within that are set by instant press in the quick detect table. I'm not checking for a given key to be held down. I'm not even checking for the key that matches with the controller, the jump key to be held down. I'm just checking if jump, if quick detect dot jump. Controls quick detect dot climb, ability jump. Where is it? Yeah, initiating jump is a whole other thing. but it's good to have them separated like that. I was checking for the controls. If the control is down, that matches with this control on the table of controls. But that just resulted in like a really long line code each time, which I knew what it did, but it was not. Just the longer the line of code, sort of slowly, the harder it gets to read. So, plus, it's just kind of nice to have a more compact code base. Anyway, back to Defold. On inputs, there's binding setup for the arrow buttons. You mean the arrow keys? I'm not familiar with any arrow buttons, unless you mean a D-pad. Which I've never heard it called that either. What actions are input, game.input binding. Is this laid out like this in the folder? Yes, that's... Not really. Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Okay, input. Yeah. And then main. Okay. There's doc, which has the yeah. Okay, so yes, the build, I guess, has some build stuff. On the app seek, yeah, compiles the things down, whatever. Input, built-ins, put materials, render. Yeah, that's like your object files or whatever to compare it to see. Which, given that this is Lua, like, is that like JIT Lua? I don't know what that code is in build, because it's some kind of binary. Generated spreads. Let's just go to astronaut script. Astronaut script C. No, it has the actual text of the code file, and then it has other stuff. I don't know what this thing is doing. I mean, big surprise. I don't know how a big, complicated, real game engine works, but I don't know why it needs these files here. Huh. Because, like, if it was C and it was an object file, I'd know, like, okay, it's a step along the way, which I'm guessing that's a step along the way to producing something that it can actually run, some actual assembly/machine code. But binding, which now I'm curious what that looks like. If I could write that in code, I might prefer that. Yeah, 1 kilobyte. Yeah. Yeah, it's like it is like JSON, if not actually JSON. JavaScript object notation. And then this interprets that, puts it into nice little visual tables. Space. Space. Mouse triggers. Button 1. Action touch. Gamepad triggers. Touch triggers. Text triggers. Ooh, I'm not fond of the amount of space left on the scroll bar there. That is a really, really minor nitpick. And I didn't notice it until now. But I would like the scroll bar to go up a little bit further when it's scrolled all the way up. Alright, so I was looking at that. Why was I looking at that? It didn't actually tell me to look at that. Okay, I'll close it. On reload. This function is called whenever the current script is hot reloaded. This is very useful to inspect or manipulate the state of a game object at reload to test things or do debugging. Okay. I feel like that would take some experience to get a handle on how to use it well. Or maybe just some good examples. Yeah, and this has no code in it. I think the last tutorial project I did didn't have that function. If it did, then it was above my head, I guess. I don't know, I forgot it. Now ready to write a bit of Lua code to play the animations and make the Ow! I've been laying on my shoulder too much. We're now ready to write a bit of Lua code to play the animations and make the astronaut game object move. First, change the content of the init function to this. Local speed equals 150. Oh, no, put that outside of init. Local to the whole file. So that astronaut.script, that is the entire file that it's showing me, right? So I could just open this up in Notepad++. Yeah. Okay. I'll do that. Let's do that. Oh, but it doesn't have syntax highlighting because it's a different file extension. Because they had to use a whole bunch of custom extensions to tell what things are. Lovely. I'll just open it back up in here. Oh, I can't drag it to open it. I have to double click it or right click open. Or file open? Yeah. Go all happily. And I remember what I typed in, but I didn't actually save it. Interesting. I closed it and remembered what I typed in, but it's not saved as marked by the star and the fact that it wasn't there when I opened it here. Alright, what am I putting in it? Message.post. Comma acquire input focus. Post. No. Post. quotes dot quotes. Alright, yeah, and then I can tab over to the, okay, so it does that completion of the comma. That's kind of nice. Oh, and then if I go back over it, it doesn't do the completion again. Quotes, comma. Yeah, and if I type comma, it doesn't paste it over the comma that's included. It puts in 2 commas, which will mess up your code. So if I want to type it out, I'm going to want to delete stuff, or maybe hit escape. I'm curious now how this completion works. If I hit escape, then it just leaves the labels that it put in as actual text. I'm not super fond of that. In Visual Studio, if I remember correctly, when it suggested stuff, you could just type over top of it if you were typing the same thing that it had, which is easier for me sometimes. My brain just is like, yes, that's what I'm typing. I'll type it instead of hitting tab to complete because I feel like typing it because I'm not used to a lot of completion. If it adds it on to the completion, that's going to really mess me up. So quotes dot quotes, and then acquire underscore input underscore focus in quotes. Okay, has completion for that. That's nice. Not for the quotes though. Actually, if I typed it without quotes first, ACQ, yeah. Huh. I don't know why it needs. Well, I can. No, I know why it needs it in quotes because Lua doesn't like enums. Doesn't like a variable that just labels like this is all of a thing. It's just more convenient to pass around strings, just bits of text. Save that. It saved everything when I hit Control S. Self.dir, so direction. So direction of self, of the whole script. Or the thing calling, the thing that in it is in. So yes, the script. Yeah, that's, again, because it's not a Lua, like it is a Lua file, so it's probably just treating it as a dot, like, as a Lua interpreter would treat a dot Lua file internally. So when it must be doing some processing so that each of these functions is declared as like script colon function internally because it's using self. But then self could just be passed in as a regular parameter, and then it's just called self. Declaring as colon just adds self in automatically, so they're probably not declared with the colon notation. So they're passing in a self parameter manually from somewhere else in the engine. Then why call it self? You don't need to. You could call it something more descriptive or specific or just whatever you want. But this is self.direction, so this is direction of this object. The object that the function is attached to. So really not just the direction of the script, it's the direction of the astronaut game object as a whole. So it's going up arguably 2 layers, 2 levels. Yeah. Self dot dir, which I'm more familiar with dir standing for directory, but whatever. Equals bmath.vector3. Oh boy, vectors. I am not too familiar with them. Vectron. Vector 3. Oh man, that is gonna mess me up so hard. I definitely remember that if you were typing something that was a function, so it had parentheses at the end, and you type the first parent. Let's type that out again. Pmath dot vector 3. Yeah. Oh yeah. When I type in one parent, it places in the other one. It's not even giving me a template. It's just pasting in the other parent. I don't like that. I am very, very used to typing right parents when I need to. Oh man. And I bet there's not like a setting or anything that I can do for that either. I could do the code over here, but as stated, it's not a .lua file. I could rename it to .lua and then rename it back, but then that's just, I'm gonna forget at some point. It's just a bit of a hassle. I could batch. I could just make a simple batch file that renames the files over as needed and renames them back. Renames another one that renames them back, or one that does both based on another argument, based on what I'm doing. But it's just save final local variable. Set a built-in object. Okay. Dot is the current game object. So no. I'm familiar with dot being current directory. So I can see why they would do that, but why not give it a name? Why not? I would say some other punctuation, but I think any other punctuation would be worse, or most other punctuation would be worse. Oh, it's just so weird. Find a variable as current script component instance self. Variable will move direction expressed as a vector is initially 0. Okay, so self is the current script component instance. All right, so going back to the object model. Oh boy. Okay, so we got a click. What? Okay, I middle clicked and everything broke. Okay, it does the thing where you middle click and you get like a I do have a browser open. You middle click and you get a little anchor and you move the mouse around and it moves where you're at. It does that, but it doesn't show the anchor. Alright, so script component. Script is a component of a game object. Okay. So this script here is parented to this game object. Okay. So self represents the current script component instance. So it is an instance of this script. So if you run the script again, self will not refer to all instances or all copies of the script. It will refer to this, whatever currently running copy of the script it is in. Okay. Which is how I would expect it to. I wouldn't expect it to refer to all copies. For all copies, I would expect it to be parent, or defining some kind of class structure. Change the contents beyond input function. I see. I see. If action ID action underscore ID roles hash front. Then okay, I typed out that and I pressed enter to, I guess, accept the complete when I was hoping it would go to the next line. So I would need to press enter twice, even though I already typed the complete thing. This, okay, it auto indents, which is kind of nice, but I am really not liking the code completion on this. It's helping me too much. It's like, here, let me help out. Like, I'm good. Thank you. I just want to type my code. I like tab complete. That when it's optional and gives you like a tooltip. I don't like it actually pasting in text. Alright, so blah blah blah, change the direction based on the input. So input action ID action. Okay, so this is called self is the it's this. I'm modifying self.dir. So these are components of the vector that was created. Okay. Vector.y equals -1. So that's so the changing direction. Okay. It's not actually moving it. It's just changing which direction to move. Okay. And the one I'm guessing is not special. It's just because there's not really a quick, easy way to indicate sign or direction without number. Well, you could set it to left or right, but this, I'm guessing this is going to be multiplied by something, probably by speed, by local speed. But yeah, let's type all that out. Else if action ID, which I'm guessing is going to be provided by the engine whenever this is called, well, it's hash, which is clearly an engine function, allowing it to not pass around strings directly, but pass around a hash of a string, which is like a way of encoding something. Alright, hash of back is 1. Yeah, yeah, because then I gotta, after I type this, I gotta go over in order to type then. And then, after I type then, I gotta hit enter twice to actually make a new line. I don't know, maybe if I typed a space. Yeah, but I don't want a space. I don't want an unnecessary space. And that's still one extra key press. And that adds up if I do a lot of branches. Is there a way to turn off the completion? Code. Custom editor. Huh. Well, anyway. Self. ID hash. Let's do left, regardless of whether it does left or right first. Yep, X native one. Which, yeah, that makes sense. That means the remaining one is right. Gotta hit right arrow or end or something. Self dot char dot x equals 1 and save. Actions defined in the input binding file are set in the action ID parameter. The user presses the front or back button. Okay. Right. So that's genericizing. Input is down arrow key. That would be this. And that's often just called down. And that triggers the action known as front. So this sends the front action on the input channel, the input message system, because I'm guessing it's internally very similar to the message system, but like more optimized or higher priority, something like that. I don't know why this still has a box around it. Is it because I don't know. Alright. What am I doing? Go to back. Sets the Y component. Sets the X component. Vector. It's front and left at the same time. Two calls are done on input. Good. Change. Update. Oh, that's a decent bit of code. If no, wait, what was it? vmath.length.sqr. vmath.length.sqr. Length underscore sqr. Length by square root or okay, report. Please don't crash. Oh, I guess it's going to explain what the code does. Okay, I mean, that's kind of cool that the bug report just goes to posting an issue on GitHub, but I imagine that's a lot for them to sift through. And that one, self.dir is greater than 1. I don't think it would ever be greater than 1 because I'm only ever setting it to 1 maximum. Wait, length of okay, yeah, I don't know what kind of math it's doing. And then yeah, really what it's doing is it's the same number of keystrokes if it had semi-smart indenting. If it kept the indent that I was at here by pressing enter, then I would have to press tab to get over, which is what I have to do in Notepad++. So it should be saving me keystrokes by indenting for me, but it's not because of having to press enter twice. I know I'm harping on this, but it really does bug me. All right. Self.dir equals, yes, I have to look back and forth this often. I don't have good memory. Bmath.normalize self.dir. All right, that's got a box around it again still. Oh boy, I right clicked and it froze, or no, it doesn't do anything. Right clicking on the code does nothing. There's not like a copy paste menu or anything. Not even if I select anything. Middle clicking selects things. Right clicking and dragging does nothing. Like I use Control C, Control V, those. But I'm not fond of there being no copy paste menu or any other kind of like handy things to do at whatever point in the text I'm at. Huh. Okay, end the if block. Local p equals go.get position. Get underscore position. I like that it uses snake case. I like snake case. That's where you have underscores and things. I like that better than camel case where they would do like that. Get position. No arguments. No arguments. Go.set position. P plus self.dir times speed times dt. Okay, yeah, this is where, yeah, sets. Okay, yeah, I see it. Okay, so game object, so it's getting the position of the game object that this component is in. position of the game object that this component is in, which would be the astronaut. Storing that in P. That's set position if I can spell. Is that it? Yeah. It's one argument, but it's done with. Alright, if I hit delete, it deletes that whole thing. That's kind of nice. What about backspace? Yeah. So it's taking the position that it's currently at plus the self.dir that it had, and it's multiplying that direction by speed and by dt. So multiplying it by speed means that if it's 1, it goes 150 over this way. If it's -1, it goes 150 over the other way, and so forth. And then multiplying by dt, or delta time, means that you get animations that scale with how fast your game is running, so that you don't, if your game runs a little bit slower, the animations don't run the same speed and then move you too far and have your movement be all wonky. A lot of games, basically a lot of 20th century games, had issues with that. Even after the era of like the original PC and the XT and the AT, when they would check for processor speed, there would still be an upper limit, and past that it would just not run right because it wasn't equipped to adjust for that much speed, that little time between frames or between lines of code, basically. Self.dir equals math.vector3. So why is it setting it again? Like it's resetting it, I guess? Yeah, that was in it. So it's setting it to a fresh vector3. Self.dir equals bmath.vector3. Alright. Now the explanation that I have largely already explained. Where am I at on time? Well. The update function is called the engine has already processed all input. Okay. So the order per frame is input, update, and probably several other things. I would be curious to know when init and final are run in that scheme. Presumably init is run for any given script is run before final. Taking a guess, I would say it runs init, update, final. Or rather it would be init, on input, update, final. In the case of diagonal input movement vectors greater than 1, normalizing the direction vector makes it length 1, and diagonal movement will have the same speed and as horizontal and vertical movement. Okay, that's something that I've tried to do I just multiplied it by 2/3 because that felt about right. But I think that, yeah, you would want to multiply it by the square root of 2. to make it, because that's what you're doing. If it's one unit this way and one unit that way. So if you have something that is, you have a square that is 1 unit by 1 unit, then the length across it is the square root of 2. And that is a well-known number that is, you can't really pin down. It goes on forever. But you can represent it well enough to account for it. And if you are moving up 1 unit and over 1 unit, that is exactly what you're doing. You are moving diagonally a distance that is the square root of 2 units. So that's why there was the length SQR in there, I'm guessing. Get the position of the current game object. The name geo does not refer to the current game object. Okay, I was wrong about that. It's the name of the Lua module that contains all game object functions. Ugh. Set the position of the current game object to the old position plus the direction vector scaled with the speed constant and dt. Multiplying with dt makes the movement velocity independent of the update frequency. Yeah. Reset the direction vector since it is set each frame in on input. Run the game again and verify the movement works as expected. Astronauts should move in all 8 directions. Yep. This goes off the screen. It's an interesting design there. It looks kind of African. Animation's final piece of the puzzle. Good. I'll change the animation based on the current direction. Add a variable that holds the current animation in init. Current anim equals nil. Okay. Setting it to nil, so it shouldn't really do anything, but because you don't have to declare variables in Lua. Store the currently running animation. Make add code and update. Changes the animation based on direction. It tries to autocomplete in comments. That's a little less than intelligent on its part. Local anim equals hash of idle. Set their x equals 0. Did I do that right? It's greater than 0. I'm used to pressing tab. Anim equals hash right. It's a good thing I don't have anything else just called right. But hey, it's a tutorial and it's a simple program. So I can tell where this is going. So that dir.x less than 0. Then n equals hash left. I don't know why it didn't put up the parentheses that time. Y greater than 0 back. Front or forward? Front. End. If anim not equal to current anim, then oh boy, message passing. Anim is not the same as self. Was it self? Self.current anim. Message dot post. Now it's sprite. Don't know why it needs the. Not sure why it needs the pound. Because it's like URL. Yeah, URL pound sprite. Message ID. Play animation. And then one more component. Table with one element. ID equals anim. Self.current anim equals anim. So reset it. Self.dir equals vmap.vector3. Keep mixing up R&O on there. Alright, cool. So that's that set. Variable starts with the default animation ID. No input. This is the animation you get. Test against the movement direction. Set the anim variable based on the X and Y component. Yeah. Anim is different than current animation. Play new animation and set the current animation ID anim. Test against the current animation is required, otherwise the code will restart the same animation over and over again each frame. I see. Also note that no separate diagonal walk directions. The code uses left and right for the diagonals. Yeah, congratulations. Finished. Script. Okay. Save. Build. Um, I messed something up. Sound sprite, play animation, D equals anim. Subject current anim equals anim. Well, crud. Did I reset it at some point when I was not supposed to? I think that was not supposed to be there. It sure wasn't. I don't know why I added it. Possibly added it earlier. That would be resetting it, I think. Hooray! Oh, dang. Okay. Well, that has been another tutorial in Defold. If you watch this and the other one, you probably have a decent handle on how to get started with this by now. I'm thinking I don't want to use it because of the editing issues, just some of how it wants to lay out game objects, just the general things of I want to have close control, but maybe it's for you. I would encourage you to play around with engines, play around with making a game. It's great fun. You can if you're a creative type and you can get into logic enough to do some programming, making a game can be just as fun as playing a game. But for now, that is it. I'm going to say au revoir and farewell and auf Wiedersehen and adios and what is it in Japanese? I'll see you later.